came through a recommendation by the orthodontist that Richard was seeing at the time, just around the corner from your Harley Street practice, Patrick Grossman. And Richard was in a pretty bad place at the time. It was pretty grim, to be honest. He was going to school, his attendance was about 36%, and we couldn't seem to shift it above that. And so he spent a lot of his time sitting on an armchair under a duvet with a cracking headache, watching TV, because that was literally all he could do. Getting to school was just impossible for many, many days. And this had been going on for many months. So yeah, the main symptom were headaches, but he also had other pains in other parts of his body. He had problems with his knees, he had a kind of a spasm in his neck and other difficulties. He also had some pains in his tummy that he was hospitalised for a while. But the overriding symptom seemed to be headaches, and he had two types of headache. He had a chronic, what they called a chronic daily headache, and he also had a migraine type headache. The migraine type headache started when he was 4 and was associated with waking up very early in the morning and sickness. And then the sickness the actual vomiting disappeared as he got older, but the nausea remained, and he had pain on just one side of his head. Whereas the chronic daily headache, what we called his kind of ordinary headache, was just an all-over pain with no nausea. But both of them were horrible, both of them were completely debilitating. So he was missing out on school, he was missing out on social things, he was missing out on life, really. And the impact on his body was that it was in a pretty poor state. I remember when you first saw him, you kind of didn't really know where to start. You know, there were so many issues, and his body was, it was weak, it was out of condition, he was in a poor state.
I think I was on amitriptyline, patotefen, probably. Panwell, maybe. I've been through so many. Quite a few.
And apart from feeling physically like there's pain in the body, how else did you feel about the situation?
Well, not good. I was repeated a year at school, so.
We'd seen a chiropractor locally, so we weren't totally shocked by your approach and the kind of tests that you were doing on him. We were kind of prepared a little bit for that. We weren't prepared for the porcelain spoon and the the oil and the straightening of the muscle fibres. That was, you said at the time this is a bit kooky, but kind of, I think that's the word you used. But it worked. And I remember you took measurements of his biceps and his neck muscles at the beginning of the process, and we saw those grow visibly. We also really significantly saw his self-esteem grow as well, and you helped him psychologically as well as physically. You helped him to set targets. You were the first person to ask him, okay, if you were headache-free, what would you be doing with your time? What would your life be like if you didn't have headaches? And that was a very new way of thinking for us, because Richard's world had shrunk and had become very, very small, and you enabled him to kind of see possibilities. And with the help of the physical treatment, you helped his physical body to realise those possibilities.
Great, so what's happening now?
What's happening now is that Richard is at school probably 85% of the time rather than 36% of the time, which is just fabulous. You know? Most mornings he wakes up and feels great, which is just a really big change for us. He spent 5.5 years waking up feeling rubbish, most of the time. So that's fantastic. The headaches haven't gone away entirely. But they're much more manageable, they're more containable, they're less frequent, and the continuing adjustments along with the treatment that he's getting on his jaw and his teeth will hopefully reduce those further. So we feel very positive.
Did you know that in 2 weeks' time it's National Migraine Awareness Week?
No, I didn't know that, no.
So for people out there who may be adults or even in children as well who have kids with headaches, and we'd love to touch as many of them we can with potentially able to help them with a natural, drug-free alternative. Would you recommend they get involved, at least have an assessment to see if we can help?
Absolutely. I think when you have a child in pain over a long period of time, you end up trying a lot of things. We tried a lot of things before we came here, but we're really pleased we did. This was the big step change in Richard's treatment. So yeah, I totally